full. We got 73 people in here. We are not going to get anybody else in this region. So, we're going to begin. Pantera, you recording? Are you ready? Is Inara in here? Oh dear, she didn't make it. Oh, hi Mona. Is she not able to get here, or? Okay. Okay, as long as she's all right. Okay, so we're going to get started. How many people saw Ebbe Linden's? If you don't know who Ebbe is, he's the new CEO, and you should know who he is. How many of you saw his speech yesterday? You didn't see a tech? Another missed it. Oh my gosh. You all missed it? Really? I'm so disappointed. Okay, if you missed it, here's the link to the video. Don't watch it now, because I'm more important right now. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
But I highly encourage you to watch that video, and I will guarantee you, I will promise you that by the time you've finished listening to what Ebbe has to say, you will have a smile on your face. This man gets it. I mean, he gets it. More than any other CEO, aside from maybe Philip, Ebbe Linden gets it. And, I'm not going to give you, a second by second of his speech, but as you watch the video, please take the time to watch the video. First of all, you guys may not know this, but it was about a year ago, Rodvik, I don't know if it was Rodvik, but management put out a policy that Lindens weren't allowed to socialize in Second Life with residents, except for official things like user groups, which are formerly known as office hours. And that's why you didn't see Lindens in World for quite a long time. A few weeks ago, Ebbe rolled that back and said, no, absolutely, I want Lindens to be socializing with residents. And wow, so I heard about that and I was ecstatic. Ebbe's speech yesterday is, and you'll see it in the video, so I'm not going to give you time, but anyway, the man gets it, and I've walked away from, 6 months ago, a year ago, I wasn't feeling very good about Second Life's future, put it that way. In fact, we initiated some development for OpenSim to make sure Firestorm was compatible with OpenSim, just in case, as a fallback, as a plan B for the users, in case something happened to Second Life, for example. And after having heard Ebbe speak, and he talks about his point of view on things, and after learning his points of view on things, I'm absolutely so supportive of this guy. And not only that, he, his hour was up, and there were still questions. And Phelan said, there's still more questions, but where time is up, and he absolutely wanted to keep going. He wanted to keep going until there were no more questions left. Not only that, but a lot of you may not even realize, Ebbe, first of all, didn't stay in his protected sim. He came and stepped into one of the other public regions. He did an unscripted speech. You could tell he wasn't reading. This was coming out of his head. And it's the first time a CEO, and even I think most Lindens, have come out and been open to an ask me anything situation. That's what Ebbe set up. That's what we do here. We come out here and ask me anything, and I'm being honest, and you're going to get an honest answer no matter what, and you can try to corner me all you want, because we're being transparent. That's what Ebbe did yesterday. That was, in doing that alone, huge. It says volumes about this man. So, this wasn't on the list, but after watching the speech yesterday, I just felt that I had to bring it up. I have to give him kudos. I have completely renewed hope for Second Life and the future of Second Life going forward. Good job, Ebbe Linden. Next. Some of you may have heard we were having problems with our 64-bit download. Actually, probably most of you don't know about it. We've just fixed it within the last 10 minutes. We had a problem with our cert was expiring. We had to pull the download. We've put up a new download, and it's working again. That was the next thing on my list. Done. Before I go on to DUI, anyone got questions about Ebbe, which I probably can't answer? You guys gotta watch the video. He is real. He is really for real.
He is truly a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I'm right impressed. And also I should mention, I'm going to put out a request to see if maybe Ebbe would be willing to join us for one of these Q&As. It's not, it's not something that would ever even have been fathomed from a previous Linden. But this man is really showing colors that he wants to change things, and he's really moving Second Life in the right direction. He understands, he gets it, he understands you guys. He understands users. He understands us.
He's definitely very real.
Yeah, if we do a Q&A with him, if he agrees to come, the region, we'd have to limit the region, obviously, and we would probably stream most of it, and then take questions from the live stream. You missed a lot of fun today, Tech. He does, Nell. Yeah. He really, when I say he gets it, I mean he really gets it. Like he really gets it. I had hope with Rodvik that Rodvik got it, and because I knew Rodvik took some time to explore Second Life as a resident. From what I understand, Ebbe has explored Second Life as Ebbe. Like he's gone to what's it called? Berlin, 1920s. He hung out there. He's like, he actually is, a resident. He does, Mona. Yeah. Watch the video. Seriously, just watch the video. So, you guys will totally have smiles from ear to ear after watching that video. After hearing his point of view on things. I'm really, really hopeful. Okay, so many of you are here to talk about Firestorm Dynamic User Interface, am I right? I don't think it does, Tech, but it's 80 minutes long. Okay, so Firestorm DUI. First of all, we were talking about this before we started recording. For those of you who are watching on the video, first of all, it's actually kind of an unfortunate coincidence that DUI shares the same acronym as driving under the influence. And perhaps in hindsight, it was a mistake that I included that in the April Fool's Day video. I couldn't resist. I thought it would be funny crashing the lamppost, and I apparently offended some people, and for those of you I offended, I apologize. I can assure you the name was not chosen because it shares the acronym with, driving under the influence, and also I'll point out that it doesn't matter what acronym we choose. In some language, in some country, it's going to offend somebody. It does stand for Dynamic User Interface because essentially that's what it is. Yes, it is real. Those of you on Mac and Linux weren't able to download and try it. You can consider that kind of a blessing because while it is real, it's really broken, and that's not a joke. It is a early prototype / proof of concept to demonstrate that it can be done. And what it is, I mean, when I say prototype, proof of concept, I mean, basically the only thing that was done is the code that was needed to detach 3 windows from the viewer to prove that 3 windows in a viewer can be detached. It means a lot of work. And those of you who read the blog post following April 1st, where we explained that, you know, the joke was, first of all, how many people did I trick? How many people did we get? How many of you thought DUI was actually the joke? I got the impression it tricked quite a few people. So the idea was, it almost went off, it almost was flawless, except for one thing. And Ed and I were in on this, and Nikki were in on this for, you know, over a year. Believe it or not, this is a year of planning for April 1st. Like, I was planning this before we actually did last year's April Fool's joke. Not even kidding. I take April 1st that seriously. So, anyway, if you guys remember with Firestorm Mobile, when we released it, there was a lot of people who perpetuated the joke. So there were people coming in the group saying, I just downloaded it, and it's real, and it works really good. And then people were like, really? How come I can't download? Where's the link? And so I was kind of counting on a percentage of people actually trying the link that I put in the video. And I was sort of counting that these people would come into the groups and say, hey, guess what? This is real. It really works. And then other people would say, yeah, that's what people said last year. You're just perpetuating the joke. And so there was 2 parts to the joke. I was hoping, first of all, that I'd trick a lot of people, and then also that it would create a lot of chaos and confusion in all of the groups. I totally couldn't predict, you know, how that would actually turn out. And in the end, I think what happened was the people that did download it realized that it was real and didn't want to ruin the joke. And so there wasn't that many people coming in the groups claiming that it was real. And so that part of it sort of failed, but
It does work, DG.
it does work, DG. That was the joke. The joke was that it's not a joke. DUI is real. And like I say, so it is a proof of concept. It is a very early, and the reason why, and I mentioned in the blog post that we're really hoping, I'm really hoping that this will motivate inactive devs, because there used to be a lot more open source developers in Second Life working on viewers than there are now. And, you know, why that number has diminished, it could be any number of, a lot of reasons, or a combination of all of them. But there's a lot fewer devs out there now who are contributing to open source, specifically with Second Life and Second Life viewers, virtual world viewers. And so, you know, I was hoping that DUI would provide a catalyst that might remotivate people, because suddenly here's some whole new world of possibilities you could do with this. But it needs to be developed. We get a lot of people asking, you know, when are we going to release it? No, it's not even, we're not even thinking about when we're going to release it yet. The other reason why, you know, I called out to open source developers is because it requires a lot of work. And while Firestorm has possibly the biggest development team out of all the third-party viewers in Second Life, most of our devs are inactive. And even those who are active, we have lives. And, you know, this is like a volunteer thing that we do in our spare time. And some of us have more spare time than others. And some of us have less of it. So the bottom line is we can't do this by ourselves. Okay, Nikki did the proof of concept and proved that it can be done. And we will continue to work on it, but we can't do it ourselves because there's just so much work that needs to be done. So we're really hoping that, and possibly the only way DUI can come to fruition and actually be a real thing and be mainstream in Second Life and virtual worlds, which I really hope it will be, because it's such a huge improvement to the user experience for most people, I think. quite possibly will require that all the third-party viewers get together, work together, make it happen together. So that's kind of where DUI is. It raised a lot of excitement, and it should, because it is pretty revolutionary. It's not revolutionary. It's innovative. It's something a lot of people really have requested for a long, long time. Something that I can't wait to use properly. And anybody here that has more than one monitor, there's even a possibility. It may not be realistic, but yeah, you probably got like 10 monitors.
4.
Hoarder. You're a hoarder.
39-inch.
You're a monitor hoarder. It may even be possible, and I don't know this, please don't quote me, and please don't say Jessica said it could be done. It could even maybe be possible to be able to move HUDs outside of the viewer window. Can you imagine? I mean, the potential is just, it's crazy what could be done. And so I hope there are open source developers out there watching this video, or maybe even in the audience. I hope there are people who know maybe a little bit of C++. Maybe they've tinkered a little bit with viewer code. Let this motivate you, really, seriously. Let's work together and make something happen. And so that's about what I have to say until questions. So before I go on to the next thing, questions, throw them out there about DUI. I'm not sure how to answer that. So Windows handles, Windows operating system handles Windows. I don't mean Windows, you know what I mean, Windows. Handles, why did Windows name it Windows? The Windows operating system handles Windows, yeah, folders, okay. Windows handles, we'll say, folders, in a specific way, and Mac probably handles them a little differently, and Linux probably handles them a little differently. We need to get Mac developers working on the Mac version of it. It is OGL calls, yeah. We need to get Linux developers looking at that code, because it will sort of have to be developed a little bit individually from OS to OS, but I think most of the code is reusable cross-platform. What is DUI for people who don't know what it is? DUI is basically allows you to detach floater windows or floater panels like conversations, people panel, statistics, inventory, and not necessarily detach them, but actually move them outside of the constraints of the viewer window itself. So if you've ever used GIMP, I think GIMP uses it, right? Or any Adobe products allow you to detach and undock windows and throw them into another monitor, for example. Essentially, that's what DUI is. And if you've not seen the video, yeah, click on that link Miro posted. It's good for a bit of a laugh, too. By the way, I take pride in stating I tricked even most of our developers here. There was a couple that got it straight away, which was Pantera and Futashai. Is that right? I've been pronouncing his name wrong.
No, it's Futashai.
Futashai. Ah, okay, thank you. I will remember that.
It's all right.
So yeah, they got it straight away. Tank, I'm saying it right for the record, Tank didn't get it.
You think? No, I was doing what you wanted.
Anyway, I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good April Fool's joke. I still think it was the best one we did so far. Do you think adding some sort of LSL bridge to it? Well, I mean, the bridge works with the viewer anyways. And the bridge is sort of slowly becoming obsolete. I can't say that we'll get rid of the bridge right now, but the time may come where we might eliminate it. We can't use it for teleports anymore, properly anyway. So yeah, a lot of people wonder why was it so hard to do this with the viewer when GIMP, Photoshop, Adobe in general allows it. Well, because when they made GIMP from the beginning, they made it with the expectation that they were going to code it from the start to be able to have the windows go outside. The main window. So they did that from scratch. Whereas the Second Life viewer is tens of thousands of lines of code, probably in the hundreds of thousands, actually most likely. Somebody will tell me, I'm sure. It was initially thought by most that to do it in the viewer it would require kind of like a rebuild, start over of viewer code. And somehow, don't know how Nikki does this stuff. She's like so far outside the box when she codes, and she just came up with some crazy way of thinking, hey, why not do it like this? And it works, obviously. And actually, if you look at the diff, which I posted on the blog post, revealing that it wasn't a joke, it's not that much code. Keep in mind, of course, that it's just the proof of concept, and it is broken, and by the time, it's coded to work properly and everything works, it's going to be a lot of code. But the initial work to make it happen is actually not that much code. It's crazy. We do not have a repository for it yet, and thank you for asking that, because you reminded me of the main point of this. Please don't file bugs for DUI yet. I say this because we know it's broken. We don't need bug reports to tell us that it's broken. We're not even at the point of taking bug reports yet. It's beyond, even taking bug reports. Everything's broken. So, if you guys are reporting bugs, you could just file like one JIRA and say everything's broken, and we'll reply with, we know. Thank you. So yeah, don't file bugs yet. There will come a time when we'll probably do like some public alpha. Certainly we'll have QA, and it's a long process. I expect DUI won't. I'm totally guessing here, but maybe a year from now. It needs a lot of work, guys. Vivox, I'm getting to Vivox. I'll get to there. Do we have any more questions about DUI? I'll take that as a no, or the region crashed. I see typing, though.
I don't think we've crashed yet, Jess.
Okay, next topic. Who wants to know about the SSL bug? OpenSSL. First of all, how many people have heard of it?
Yes.
A lot of people here for that.
And yes, that's the reason I made such a big effort to try to make it to this meeting.
Yeah, and I'll let you get into the technicals, but I also don't want to terrify people either. Did you look? I modified your wiki page.
No, like I said, I have read no back chat today because I only literally got here 10 minutes before I can get online.
Well, we looked into, what potentially, in a very worst case scenario, could happen, and I'll tell you right now, your passwords are safe. So, okay, what was the OpenSSL? I'll explain that first for those of you that don't know. There's been a bug, a vulnerability bug on the web for some time now, and it's being referred to as the OpenSSL vulnerability. Tech, do you want to talk about the technicals of it, but in English, like in layman's?
Yeah, Mario found a link that showed a nice little cartoon graphic to show what it is, and if
that's pretty good, actually.
Go ahead and
Miro,
put that
you
link
got that?
in chat. Go ahead and put that in chat. Basically, the simplest way is as when the client talks to the server, and as part of the communications, it sends a heartbeat as people. It turns out to be a feature, a heartbeat, basically to tell the server is live or anything like that. The bug is that it turns out that there was no bounds, what we call bounds checking, as far as what the client requests back. So if the client requests more than what the server has, the server will happily serve out extra memory. and that's basically what it is.
Just to be clear, client, when he refers to client, that's not necessarily speaking about the viewer. Client can be just your computer, the web page you're on.
Yeah, client in this case, I'm referring to the browser. I'm referring to the browser, not the viewer at all. When the browser communicates with your secure site as part of the communications, to check each other, okay, is this certificate is good and my good and so on, basically, so that way no one is like sniffing in on your communications and all that. The bug, what it is, that as part of that communications, you can send a request to get some information back. And unfortunately, like I said, if you send a request for more information than what the server have, there was no balance check, and therefore the server will serve up its own memory in which you shouldn't have access to begin with. And because of that, what's in that memory? Well, all kinds of good stuff in which you can probably read about all over the web for the server-side stuff, because that's what the media grabbed onto. Everybody's wanting to change their Yahoo passwords. Google was vulnerable, but they quickly changed that and fixed it real quick. A few of the major websites, there are a couple of links. Unfortunately, I just didn't have time to find these links, but there's like 2 or 3 websites I know of that will list all of the major websites that were vulnerable and whether or not you need to change your passwords on those sites. The ones that were not vulnerable are perfectly safe. It wasn't a backdoor to everything.
So in order for the person to do this, they have to either be the website that you're visiting, or they have to have access to the website that you're visiting. So, and this leads us to what websites, in regards to Second Life, were vulnerable, what servers. So Linden Lab was not, their website was not, what's the word I should use? Not affected? Affected. The Linden viewer is not affected. Our website was not affected. Our download server was, but we don't actually use SSL on our download server, so it was not affected. The Firestorm viewer, this is where we create a panic. Oh my gosh. Version 451 and 461 does use OpenSSL, and in that version of OpenSSL, and is affected. But the likelihood the likelihood of your viewer being utilized, or a hacker using the Heartbleed bug to get into the viewer. I mean, if it happens to you, immediately go out there and buy lottery tickets. I am dead serious, because you're going to win 3 times. And even if it does happen, they can't get your password, because the viewer does not handle the password. The password is sent in a hash, which is sent to the Linden servers, which are not affected. And so, that's not going to happen. But if you want to be really paranoid, and, I encourage paranoia to a degree, be cautious when you use Media on a Prim, because it can get you through Media on a Prim. Basically, if you connect to a website that's serving up Heartbleed, and there's somebody behind it who's waiting to get some client that happens to be vulnerable, it'll be through Media on a Prim, because you're serving up a web page in the viewer, or through the viewer's internal web browser. So if you want to be paranoid, be strict with your permissions on Media on a Prim, which, by the way, is off by default in Firestorm, unless you change that, and using the internal web browser. So you can go into Preferences, don't know where it is, somewhere in there. Ed, where is it in Preferences? You go into Preferences and tell the viewer to use external browser. Sound and Media, thank you.
Oh, for the external browser? Network.
Yeah. Oh, network? And if you're really, really paranoid, you can roll back to version 442, but I wouldn't encourage it, because then you're missing out on materials, and you're missing on all kinds of fun stuff. Fitted mesh, and really you're overreacting if you're going back to 442, I think. And if anybody, gets hacked through this, I will pay for a new computer for you out of my pocket. That's how confident I am that you have nothing to worry about.
To exploit the client is a lot more difficult, because first you have to trick the end user to clicking a bad URL. So that's why my recommendation is to basically turn media on prim off altogether, and then configure your browser when you click on links to open external browser only, and just make sure that your external browser, which is Firefox, Chrome, or even, God forbid, Internet Explorer, that they have been recently updated within the past few days, because all the web browsers are quickly getting upgraded to fix this.
Yeah, I should add to that promise I just made. And what have I said about me making promises? I have to stop making promises. You're going to have to prove to me, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the viewer was exploited using this exploit. I know I'm going to regret having said that. So really, you're going to win the lottery before your viewer gets hacked. Now, that's not to say your computer or website or browser or something. It could happen that way.
Yeah, the reason I'm recommending these safe actions is because right now, for anybody to get exploited within the past few days, it'd be very, very difficult, because the black hat criminals have not even had time to set up servers yet. So basically, you just need to get everything up there as soon as possible before they can set up servers and bad links and so on. Because for once, we have a jump ahead of the hackers, ahead of the black hat hackers out there.
And just for the record, we will be updating our SSL
Right. Well,
on the next release.
that comes to a couple topics down, but as mentioned in the blog post, there might actually be a new release coming. But we're not there yet. Any questions about the OpenSSL Heartbleed bug? Throw them out now.
DG, the whole point here is, unless you're playing around with the internal web browser and click on a bad site, or media on a prim and click on a link on a bad site, the viewer is perfectly safe.
The viewer is okay for doing search. Linden Labs search page is perfectly okay for that, because Linden Labs already checked and they're okay and everything. For search or marketplace or anything that's by Linden Labs, you can safely use on the internal browser.
So the bottom line is, you guys know I'm normally a pretty paranoid person, especially running the project and everything that could possibly go wrong. Really, you've got no worries about the viewer, especially if you take these precautions, using being cautious with media on a prim, using an external web browser instead of the browser built into the viewer. The next version we release will be fixed. But if I thought there was a risk, like a real tangible risk, we would have, a new release out right now. Untested, of course, but...
over the past couple of days, I was thinking, what was the biggest risk for the Second Life user using Firestorm? There's all these Second Life TV sets out there, and I'm pretty sure that most of these TV items, people buy these TV, they set up and they can view like movies and so on. I'm pretty sure that the vast majority of them are technically illegal, because they stream it from a pirate site somewhere. Those are the ones that you have the biggest risk with, is those things, because the sites themselves are questionable to begin with. And I think that's the biggest risk right now, is those TV sets.
Yeah, so, and DG, if you want to boycott Firestorm, all the power to you. And if you want to use a different viewer because you don't feel safe on Firestorm, Singularity is a good option. There's lots of good options out there. Catsnip. Actually, are they? Do you know which is there other third-party viewers affected as well?
To answer Dan, wait a minute, am I here? Yeah, I'm here. To answer Dan's question, that was the biggest issue with this Heartbeat blog, is that it left nothing in the web server logs and the firewalls. It doesn't trigger anything because we had no rule to detect it. And right now, everybody's trying to go through any packet logging to see if this was exploited in the past or not. But as far as anti-malware, antivirus, they can't detect it. Firewalls, yes, if they have a new rule to try to detect it.
Is DG in beta, really? DG, I will promise you right now we will not have a release out addressing this in under 5 days.
All right,
So if you want to go ahead and boycott it now,
I'd
go for
like
it.
to say something, Jess. Okay.
Yeah.
We've said it all along, folks. Okay. We took a lot of flack when when the team got started, because we were ex-Emerald people and they were all nasty, rotten, dastardly buggers. And we took a lot of flack. And we've said it right from day one. If you don't trust the viewer and you don't trust the team, don't use it. Simple as that.
We haven't steered you wrong yet, anybody. So, and when we mess up, we're the first ones to admit it. So that's the SSL bug, Heartbleed. Any other questions or concerns? Voice them now. I see people typing, so I'm just gonna hang on for a minute.
Yeah, and I do apologize for not being better prepared for this, but I was literally driving.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Because I was going to do some heavy-duty research and get everything just nice and ready, and damn it.
The trick is to do this in layman terms, too. I mean, there's the tech, I don't mean tech wolf way, but the technical way of explaining things to
that's
technical
one of the things
people.
I want to sit down and try to figure out, okay, how do we explain this so everybody understands? It takes me a while to do that because
Yes.
because I did technical computer support over the phone. I know how users see things, but it takes me a while. I can't just ad-lib it.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next topic. Moving down the list. So we blocked version 440 recently, and again, it raised a whole lot of concern and stink, and...
Okay, we have a late question.
Oh.
We have a late question. Leaf, it's limited to 64 chunks at a time. That was the thing. Security research did confirm that you can send more than one 64K chunk at a time. So in other words, you can just start like memory 0.0 and go all the way till the server crashes and you have a complete copy of its memory, which holds all kinds of good stuff, including the SSL keys and so on. So that's why it's such a big deal. You just...
I'm just waiting to see if there's any more cues. We'll have, after, when we're done, if you guys want to stick around, generally there's sort of an after hours kind of a thing where most of us stick around and answer questions on the fly kind of thing. So we can do that as well if you have more questions that come up later. Okay, so blocking. Yep.
No, sorry. No. Don't use the built-in browser when you're using an outside website. And don't use media on a prim. They're not going to get you through the viewer. Yeah, that's the one that I got. Wells.
Bones, like was suggested, is don't use media on a prim if you're concerned in the viewer, which is, again, it's off by default. Don't use the internal web browser if you're visiting sites that are not Linden Lab specific. If it's Linden Lab or SecondLife.com, those are safe because the Linden site is not affected. If you're visiting Firestorm viewer, it's not affected. But, if you're browsing just the web in general, there's a very slim possibility. It is very, very slim.
I just want to make sure to clarify, this is what media on a prim, this is different from parcel media. So if you go into a DJ club and you listen to parcel media, that's a sound stream that has nothing to do with the web.
Yeah, that's different. Okay, so why we block versions. So, now, we've talked about this before. I've talked about this before in this very same setting, and I'm going to talk about it again until I'm blue in the face. So, because recently, as you know, we blocked version 4.4.0, there was a little over 5,000 people on it, which is not a lot of people compared to some of the previous blocks we've done in the past. Let me be the first to tell you that blocking old versions is not something that I generally enjoy doing. I don't do it because I want to kick people off. I don't do it because it makes our life easier. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Blocking versions becomes a significant load on the support team. It requires effort on our end. And in general, our mission statement is to improve the user experience. And generally speaking, when you force somebody off a version they're comfortable with, it's not improving their experience. In fact, if you've been one of those people, you will attest that you were probably pissed off when we blocked it. On the other hand, and I'll say straight up, yes, Linden Lab, wants us to keep people on a modern version, and I will get back to that. But I want to talk about another reason why we do it. If you are a content creator and you make mesh clothing, for example, and let's say you're selling content which is fitted mesh, which is fairly new, and you've got customer after customer after customer after customer buying your stuff and then coming back and saying it doesn't work. And then the content creator is they spend all this time trying to figure out why it's not working, and then they realize it's because you're on an old version of a viewer that doesn't support fitted mesh. That content creator then comes to me, angry, and perhaps rightfully so, because we are in effect breaking their content. Fitted mesh is on the grid, folks. It is live, it is full-blown, full steam ahead, and it is widely adopted. And if you're using version 4.4.0, for example, you're not seeing it. So it's not just that we have pressure from Linden Lab, but it's that we have perfectly legitimate pressure from content creators. And let me tell you that content creators are the people who have made Second Life what it is, and I take them very seriously. We wouldn't have the couch I'm sitting on. We wouldn't have the clothes you're wearing if it wasn't for these people. And God bless them. And if, we've got a lot of their customers, I don't want to drive them out of Second Life. And there's enough content creation and content creators leaving Second Life as it is. So there's that. And then there's going back to Linden Lab. Linden Lab wants us to keep people on modern versions. Why are they not doing that for, say, Singularity or Catnip or other viewers? Let me try to explain this in the best way I know how. 10% of even the second most popular third-party viewer, 10% of the user share, the users on the second most popular third-party viewer is maybe a couple thousand people. 10% of Firestorm users is tens, 20s, 30s, thousands of people. So I'm being responsible. When it comes down to blocking old versions, what I'm doing really is being responsible. And while on one hand it's not improving your user experience for those who are on the old versions, it is ultimately improving the user experience for the majority of the people in Second Life that we do this. And it ensures that Second Life moves forward because, believe it or not, there are more people on Firestorm than all other viewers combined, all of them. There's a lot more people on Firestorm than any other viewer out there. And, well, it's not necessarily a thing to celebrate. It is a really big weight on my shoulder of responsibility because we can inadvertently, kind of ruin Second Life, if we're not careful. So the reason that we can break things really bad, and it has happened in the past. So I'll talk a little bit about why we have the functionality to begin with. In the beginning, we had no intent to be blocking old versions. We fully expected people would would adopt new versions because they want to, because they're cool and have nice, shiny new things. And it turns out that Firestorm has a really bad adoption rate. Far more, DG. Far more. There's more people on the Firestorm viewer than the Linden viewer, Singularity, all other viewers combined. Firestorm has way more people. So we have way more responsibility to do the right thing. And so there's 5,000 people on version 440, roughly. That's not a lot of people, but when you consider that there's a percentage of those people who are complaining to content creators, and those content creators complaining to us, we have to kind of do something about it. So let me get back a little bit to why we implemented the blocking technology to begin with. Back in the Emerald days, I hate to bring up the Emerald days, but back in the Emerald days, and Emerald had far less people than Firestorm has, but back in the Emerald days, Emerald did a release that there was some code in there that, I can't remember what the code was for. It was for a feature of some kind. Anyway, it, not intentionally, it spammed the Linden servers. And it was causing, was it breast physics or radar? Radar. I think it was radar. Anyways, it was spamming extra messages to the Linden servers, and within a couple hours of releasing it, I think it was Soft Linden came saying, "What the F have you done?" And well, I don't know. What do we do? Well, you're spamming. Well, unfortunately, we don't know that we're spamming the servers because we don't have access to the servers, and perhaps that's a good thing. I'm sure that's a good thing, but we didn't know. And there's no way for us to test, if we're going to spam the servers. We can try to be smart when we're coding, think ahead, that kind of thing. But accidents happen. They do happen. And what Emerald had to do was take out that code and issue a new update immediately. And it didn't happen immediately because Emerald wasn't able to block versions, I don't believe, back then, if I remember. And so it took some time that the Linden servers were under, a significant load because of that simple little mistake. If we do that, Firestorm, if we do that, we could potentially very easily knock Second Life offline. Gone. Because there's so many people on Firestorm. And, well, we haven't knocked it offline, but display names, good example, Tech. So when we released display names, we broke the display name servers. And that's a case of a legitimate code, well-coded. It was Linden Labs' own code. And when we released Firestorm with display names, their servers were inundated for weeks. For weeks, display names weren't working because there's just too much load coming from Firestorm users. And it's not because we did it wrong. It's just because of sheer numbers. They did not anticipate that there would be that much load for display names. And there have been other examples as well like that. Can you think of any?
It was Phoenix. The other one is the 441.
Oh, it was Phoenix, yeah. And 441, yeah.
441 was a very good example.
And that another good one, yeah. So 441 was another example of we were helping Linden Lab with some debugging on server-side appearance. And in that debugging, we had to enable an option that sent a little bit of extra information to the Linden servers about the avatar's appearance. And that's because they're debugging the avatar appearance, right? We forgot to turn that off when we released 441. And immediately we're notified that we're hammering the servers. We need to do something now before more people get on Firestorm. And we released an update and we initiated a block. So this is why we have the block. Can everybody understand why we have the block? Yes. Okay, so we have the block because this is us being responsible. The block is not a backdoor. It is not a Trojan. It is not a virus. I actually took the time. There was a blog post where some people were accusing us of, backdooring the viewer and all kinds of crap. So I took the time to make a wiki page. And this shows you in plain English, as good as I can write it, how our blocks work and how those files, and you can even go in and see those files yourself. We've made no effort to hide them. We've always been transparent about it. So this shows you how it works. And in English, for those of you who don't want to click, I'll just tell you for the video. When the viewer is launched, the viewer checks a list on the server to see if its version number is listed on a file. And if it's on the file, then it's to be blocked. It will not log in. That's all. Let me get to the OpenSim thing, Roland. I'll get back to that. Trust me. So that's how that works, how the blocking works. I hate that we have to block old versions. And the reason why I hate it is because it's not that I hate that we have to block old versions. I hate that I can't guarantee that the next release is going to work flawlessly for you. That's what I hate. And I totally understand why there's people who are still using version 442, for example, especially Mac people. I totally get it. And in fact, we're not going to be blocking 442. We've made a outright statement with Linden Lab. We're not going to block it until, the big Mac issues have been resolved. And I hate that, like I say, I just hate that, we can't promise, we can't guarantee, we can't make a version that's bug-free for everybody every time. And that's why I'm allowing 3 versions to be on the grid at any given time. This gives you the option, if you upgrade to the latest version that we just released, and it doesn't work for you, you have the option to go back to the previous one. And hopefully within the next 2 releases, we'll have these problems fixed for you. That's the hope. That's why we've got 3 versions. So we've had a lot of complaints that we're blocking versions. It's either we do it. Can you guys understand why Linden Lab wants us to block old versions? Who doesn't question that, or who does question that? And don't feel bad if you question it. Please question it, because I know there's people who do question it. That's right, Vicky. That's why we have it the way we're doing it. So there's still a bit of a mixed crowd. I would love to be able to, say for sure the next release is going to work for you. But the bottom line is that, whether you question it or not, because of the amount of usage that Firestorm has, it is our responsibility to try to keep people on modern versions that support the latest code. Because Linden Lab will spend thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars on a code or a feature, and if Firestorm doesn't release it, they've wasted that money. Do you want Linden Lab to go bankrupt? Because if Firestorm doesn't adopt it, then 2/3 of the user base does not use it. And if the majority of the user base is not using it, then the feature is pointless, and it's been a waste of money. So we have to be responsible, and we have to block. So the only question then is, which method do we use? We can use our method, which I think is the most fair we could come out with, which gives you 3 versions to choose from, or we can let Linden Lab do it. And I will tell you, I have more or less fought with Linden Lab on, they really wanted to take over blocking our versions. They really wanted to be the ones to handle that. And if we give them that ability to handle that, that means that when we release 461, all other versions are gone. All of them. You will not be able to log in to 451, 442. And when you're logging in to go to that important meeting that you have in 5 minutes and you're just late, and you launch version 451, and then suddenly it comes up and says it's blocked, you have to download the new version, and then you got to go through the whole hassle of downloading the new version, and you've missed your meeting. I don't believe in that. I think that's wrong.
I'd like to make a point, Jess, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And not to contradict Jess, but Linden Lab can still block the viewer, folks.
Oh yeah.
What they're doing is they're allowing us to block selectively and give you a warning that it's blocked, rather than
It's negotiated.
not working.
Yeah, this is negotiated. This was basically Lennon saying, we want to handle blocking it, and me saying, no, we can do it. Let us handle it, and we'll prove to you that we can do it, so that you're not taking over on us. And that's when we did the big block of all those versions. That was us. That was me proving to Lennon Lab that we are perfectly capable of standing on our own feet and blocking the versions, and that we can do it ourselves. And I'll tell you, if we don't, then Lennon Lab is going to step in.
One thing I would like to mention is that when I coded up the block code there, I made sure that we could give you a reason why that viewer is blocked. So
that's the other reason.
Yeah, it tells you why it's blocked. I'm not sure if Linden Lab does or not.
No, so the other thing what I like about our system is that it tells you it's blocked because please go to, here's the link, if Linden Lab were to block it, the message you get is, Worley, what is the message exactly? Yeah, you're just, it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't work, and it'll lead you to think you've been banned or suspended from Second Life. You can't log in because it's a login message failure, as opposed to ours doesn't let you get to the login point. Theirs lets it try to log in, but then stops. So,
Vicky, I can answer that one. It's because their updater breaks things.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, as much as I would love everybody to be on the latest release doesn't work best for everybody. Some people have to be back a release. And sorry, we're about improving your experience. Auto update? Nah.
Well, the auto updater is not going to give you the 3 version option. The auto updater, if you choose to stay on an older version, every time you launch it, it's going to try to auto update. We nag you with that little stick it note. I'm sure you've all seen it that we put on the screen. That stick it note doesn't prevent you from using the viewer. It doesn't prevent you from clicking things. You don't have to click it away or anything. You can still log in. It's just there to remind you that there's a new version. And yeah, okay, it's kind of like, it's a nag. But that's because I don't want to block you. I would prefer that you update to a newer version so that when we do a block, we're not affecting many people.
Tahiti? I'd like to respond to Tahiti, Jess. We would love to not have to tell you to do a clean install. We would. We really would. Okay? However, having done support for 4 years, I can tell you right now that the vast majority of the problems we see after a release are people who have not done clean installs. That's why we have the backup feature now. You can back up your settings. All the settings that are safe can be backed up and restored on the next release.
There's also that, in an auto updater, we're not able to really reach you because it doesn't take you to our website. And the website is what pays the bills too, by the way. Like, you guys come to the website is what covers our server costs. We have 2 servers now we're paying for. So, it's good to drive people to the website. It's really good to drive you to our blog. It's good to drive you to our wiki pages because it all benefits you. It all has pertinent information that will improve your user experience should you so take the effort to actually read it. We don't blab about stupid things. It's always legitimate stuff.
One other thing. Just put your chat logs in a non-default location. You're safe. It's all it takes for your chat logs to be to not be affected by a clean install.
It is the bane of my existence that support asks people to do a clean install. Every time I do a blog for a new release, and
she hates me.
Ed sits there nagging me, don't forget to tell them to do a clean install, and I really hate that we have to ask you to do that, and it is unprofessional that we have to ask you to do that. And we've had initiatives where we've put a lot of effort into finding out why and how settings get corrupted, which end up requiring clean install because it shouldn't happen in a properly coded application. And it does, and we've never really properly been able to figure out why. And it's not for lack of trying. It's like one of these gremlins, ghosts in the machine. We can't figure it out. And I hate that we have to ask you to do that. But we as an alternative, because we couldn't figure it out, we brought you the settings back up. And at least that way, you don't have to spend hours going through settings and trying to find and trying to set it back up the way it was. So you can do a clean install. You can launch the viewer. You can go in and recover your settings and relog, and you're there. Granted, not all settings get backed up. Most of them do. Not all of them. And there's a reason for that, because the ones that don't get backed up, we've discovered over time and trying to figure out why clean and clear settings works. The settings that don't get backed up are intentional, because those tend to be the settings that get corrupted. So we don't want you to have corrupt settings and then do a clean install and then back up or restore corrupt settings, right? So some of the settings don't get recovered because they're commonly culprits for causing corrupt settings. That's why. And so OpenSim, I promise I get back to OpenSim. This ruined my day, folks, and if there's OpenSim people in here, maybe it'll be some relief to you to know that this ruined my day. A while back, we had set up the initiative to have the ability to, in the viewer, to block the viewer from Second Life and not affect OpenSim. And that was supposed to have gone in version 4.4.2. And this morning, when I was preparing for the Q&A, I was looking into the code so I can show you where that is. And I discovered it's not there. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it's not there. It was supposed to be, so one way or another, it didn't get done. I can assure you it's going to be done for this next release that's coming. The consequence is, though, that eventually we will block 4.4.2, 4.5.1, 4.6.1, and those will also end up blocking for OpenSim. And for that, if you are an OpenSim user, I am so sorry. OpenSim is another virtual world grid like Second Life, but not as big. So I'll be making a blog post. I did state, in the 4.4.0 blog post that this would be the last time that OpenSim would be affected by a Second Life viewer block, and I'm going to have to retract that. I will.
No, DG. We will still support OpenSim.
Oh, no. Let me clear that up.
Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, no. We are still fully supporting OpenSim. I'm all for OpenSim. I'm all for virtual worlds of every kind. We made the promise, a year and a half ago, we would put interest towards OpenSim, and I don't make promises lightly. I'm not pulling out of that. But actually, I heard a thing that kind of disturbed me a little bit a couple days ago from somebody well-known in OpenSims, that apparently the owners of OS Grid and a few other OpenSim grids are calling Firestorm anti-OpenSim. And that ticked me off, actually, because we've made a lot of effort to be OpenSim compatible. But anyway, that's another story and something I want to straighten out with them. But anyways, to no consequence, we are still fully supporting OpenSim. It just means that future blocks for the next couple of versions are still going to affect OpenSim. No, it can't. Mona, I really wish it could, because it requires some viewer code, and it was, and I can't tell you why it's not there yet because I haven't had a chance to speak to the developers who were implementing that. So at some point I'll find out. Probably an honest mistake. In the end, it's not their fault, it's my fault, because I made the assumption that it was there. I made statements that I made. I am the CEO here, and the crab floats to the top. And so I'm to blame. And if it ever comes out what developer did or did not do what, it should still be me who's blamed. Thank you, Dirk. Well, I don't know that it's bad information coming from OpenSim, just that I heard that there are apparently people in, development positions in OpenSim who think that we're anti-OpenSim, and I don't even understand where that comes from because we've made a lot of effort for OpenSim. But anyway, I'll deal with that in another time. Blocking. More questions? Ask away your questions. Concerns? Attack me, if you will. I really want to clear the whole blocking thing up. A singularity view is, I hear, the most popular in OpenSim, yeah.
Vicky, you want me to turn damage on?
So I'm gathering we're done with the blocking topic. And mind you, I say that we're done, but for sure the next time we initiate a block, this is going to start up again. But anyway, is everybody convinced? And believe me when I say that, we're not using a backdoor or a Trojan or a virus to block the viewer from logging in. And again, if you're in question, please read that webpage that explains in as English as I can exactly how the whole system works. It's not just it handles the blocks, but like if you open up my profile or the profile of any one of us up on stage right now, if you open it up and you're on Firestorm, you will see Firestorm support or Firestorm developer in the account payment info used. The FS data file is used to put that there. So your viewer, when you log in, it also reads that. And then when you come across somebody's profile who is included on that file, you will see that in the name of the profile. If you go to one of our support groups, and at the top of the support group, you will see a little checkbox that says, let me find a support group, that says it specify version. That is enabled for our specific groups, and which groups that's enabled for is listed in the FS data file, which is read when you launch the viewer. And I'll be clear, it's read when you launch the viewer, not when you click login. It's got nothing to do with the login. What else is it used for? Well, anyways, that document I just linked there, that says everything that it does. Yeah. Okay, so we're moving on to let you guys know, you guys remember the SL share thing? There was a big issue with it. That's another example of Firestorm overwhelming something. So Linen Lab had SL share released for a number of months, I believe. And it was all was fine and peachy. And SL Share is basically you're able to link your SL account to your Facebook page, and you're able to upload snapshots directly from the viewer to your Facebook page. Okay, for those of you that don't know what it is. So everything was fine there, and then Firestorm released SL Share. And when we did so, and I will quote, they received a huge spike in usage, unquote. And it prompted them to take a look to see what was going on. Suddenly, the Linen server is sending a whole lot more stuff than it had been in the last couple months. Facebook was seeing a huge spike in usage. And so that made Facebook staff look to see what was being posted, and then they discovered that there was one of their terms of service violation, which is that if you use this API that allows the viewer or an application to post to your Facebook stream or feed, that it not include a pre-typed text. Any text that's included with the image has to be manually typed by the user. Linen Lab was auto-typing the slurl of where the picture was taken. And so it prompted Facebook to take a look and say, wait a minute, that's a terms of service violation. They got a hold of Linen Lab. Linen Lab got a hold of us to say that they've been banned from Facebook, more or less. And it was looking as though we would have to block, once again, the 461 that we had released and issue an emergency update. Fortunately, they found a better way, and they were able to strip that data from being posted, that text data from being posted. And so the reason this is here now is because that ban, Linen Lab's ban on Facebook has been lifted, and SL Share will now work again. No, you do not need to do it. No. Sorry, go ahead. So, if you don't want to use SL Share, don't. If you do, go for it. I might suggest, though, that you use it with a real Facebook account, because it is a terms of service violation to have an avatar account with Facebook that does not have a real name. One of the side effects of, Facebook's perking up their eyebrows and saying what's going on here was that a lot of the accounts that were posting from the viewer to Facebook were posting to their avatar Facebook page. And so Facebook was looking at all these postings saying, oh, that's an avatar, that's not allowed, delete, and deleting the accounts. So in a roundabout way, it actually helped Facebook find non-human accounts.
Ricky, no. It was released as a proof of concept in the hope that other third-party viewer developers would pick up the code and work together on it and try to get it to work. There is no proposed date for it.
Oh, that's a good clarification, Anara. Thank you. And Ricky, there'll be a video of this, and DUI was talked about just a little bit into it, if you want to catch up. And this brings us to our last topic. Anybody interested in a viewer release update? Maybe?
June
I don't
30th.
think they want to know.
June 30th. Does that work, Jess?
Okay, so in lieu of the OpenSSL bug, in lieu of that, we have some really cool stuff that we've done since our 461 release. Not that we've done, that some of it's Linen Lab has done. Some of it is updating certain things, like Vivox to the latest version. which I might add has the ability to, and let me just, no, I'll say what it is first. You know how many of you will launch more than one viewer at a time? That's way too many. You do realize that's like totally unsupported, right? Because like one viewer is tough. 2 viewers is, you gotta have a really good computer. But anyways, for those of you with a really good computer, this next update will give you the ability to have voice running on both viewers. That code comes from Latif from Singularity. There's also, so I'm just reading here at the same time. Thank you, Mona. That's a good tip. It would lead to confusing conversations, yes.
The stuttering Molly is fixed with the new voice files.
That would bring new meaning to wrong window. There's also an option to hear voice equally from all speakers, which is hugely requested. And that comes from, really, I'm trying to understand, is this from Singularity or is this from another dev who contributed this to Singularity?
You're talking voice from speaker position, right, Jess?
Yeah. So if you're in a room like this, you know, when you have your camera set to, when you hear voice from camera position and you move your camera away, it gets fainter. This feature makes everybody's voice the same volume. Well, anyway, it's coming from Singularity. It was implemented in Firestorm by Nserial. So that's pretty cool voice stuff coming. You know, I asked Rolly this morning if she could put together for me a small list of cool things. And if there is anybody in this room who is an overachiever, it is Rolly, and I should have been prepared and expected, you know, what I ended up getting was practically a full-fledged changelog to go with like an official release kind of thing. It's not a small list, it's huge. And I've not edited through here too much. In fact, I've just been too busy today to have a chance to look through it. So I'm, like everything I'm doing today, this is completely ad lib. Some new stuff in Build tab for extra preferences. Oh, that sounds cool. Let's see. There's some pictures here. I haven't even seen these, so you're seeing these at the same time, and hopefully they're not like, you know, porn. If it is porn, it's release porn. So I'm clicking this the same as you guys here. Can everybody say I didn't shout that? So there are new options in here somewhere.
Build 2 tab in preferences.
Oh, yeah. Cool. So added options: limit select distance, max select distance, limit drag distance, max drag distance, rotation step. And that was from Pantera. Nice. Oh, right. Radar minimap combat. So when we released 4.6.1, we had some complaints from combat people with the minimap changes that went in. So added is a right-click function on the names list that will allow the marking of an avatar with color, same as right-clicking on them in the actual minimap. So you can right-click on their avatar. Option to change the avatar's dot color on minimap. Their name tag color could change to. I should just post this link. Really, can I post this link? It's a public doc, right?
Is it public or is it on support page?
I'm not sure. It's a Google Doc. No, I can't post okay. Merged up to 3.7.4 by to Luna Lab. Added an option added to animation upload floater to allow preview of animation on own avatar in world. added help bug report. Teleport landing point button in about land floater. I mean, this list, guys, this list goes on. Like, okay, bug fixes. We'll talk about bug fixes. New IM session closes. Open IM session floater if using separate IM windows. Show username setting doesn't apply after relogs. Also, the what was that bug with display names we had with 461? That's fixed. Oh, right. So we had some people having bad performance on 461 64-bit. How many of you here had that issue?
Don't sweat it, Rose.
Rose, is that the only issue, that you don't know how to make it public? Because I can post it in another page. Okay, yeah, no, it'll have to go up in another page.
Vicky,
So-
the autocomplete of names should only work with usernames.
Yeah,
So just
but that's designed that way. Anyways, hopefully that's going to be improved. Mac people, how many people here on Mac? How many people here on 442 can't use 461? A couple, eh? Well, so a few Mac bugs have been fixed. Not all the ones that you're hoping. I'd love to give you like the great news and say, you know, all the big issues have been fixed, but some of them, the garbage character appending when pasting on a Mac, that's been fixed. That's this Jira here. Sticky keys bug on Mac, which fixes a bunch of things. This fixes a bunch of things. Really, this is a crazy big list. Control key press being remembered from other apps. Do you guys know about that? I don't run Mac, so I don't know much about these bugs. I'm just sort of reading it and looking into local chat to see if it, strikes a chord. When I'm typing in a cell, the TP history pops down and I'm no longer able to type. Closing the menu does not help as it just pops up again. Oh, let me check. Oh, well, I'll be able to see it, but can anybody see that? No way. Whereas in order for that to work, it has to be posted on a non-Phoenix Viewer Gmail account. Pastebin it. There you go. Oh, Pastebin. Does Pastebin cover links? Yeah. Pastebin it. Oh, right. And Whirly is OCD when it comes to that, so. Okay, give me a sec. Let me do this. Somebody sing a song while I'm doing this.
Or I can answer questions.
And, yeah, questions.
Mary had a
Questions are
little lamb,
good.
little lamb, little lamb.
I'm going to go to...
We didn't start the fire.
On second thought, let's just do questions. And I'm not looking at locals, so you guys are on your own right now. I'm actually launching Internet Explorer. Can you believe it? Just because I have a Gmail account that I use on Internet Explorer, which I never use, which is why it uses my... Yeah. I'm going to fix the document in a minute, guys. You guys got questions, ask your questions. Ask questions about, is this fixed? Is that fixed? And Whirly will know. Well, voice has some pretty good fixes coming with this updated release. And actually, you can go in and download the new voice files and install them in your 461 installation. I believe we have a link to that on a wiki page somewhere.
I'm too afraid to do that. I'll be afraid I'll break it.
Dan, I believe Linden Lab is working on that.
Okay, folks, there you go. That should work. And I'll let you guys read that. Whirly's going to have a head explosion because it did lose some of her formatting. So don't blame Whirly if it doesn't quite look right in some places. It's not her fault. You are using a version of Explorer which is unsupported. Some features may not work. That's because I do not update Internet Explorer.
It's because you use Internet Explorer.
Really, oh, I don't even have access to that email account anymore, I don't think. I was going to say, if you want to request access to it, I'll... actually, how do I do that? Really, I am your it's your @Phoenix. It's got to be a Gmail account. It's not @Phoenix. Anyway, the moral of the story is we have a release coming that has some really cool stuff, some really important fixes, some really important improvements, and it's coming very quickly. Generally, we have like a 4-month turnaround, and this will come out in roughly about a 2-month turnaround. I'm hoping we will be able to release it somewhere early into May, like the first week of May, somewhere around there. Don't mark my words. That's just hoping.
Jess, you need to use the word hoping louder.
Hoping, maybe, possibility. It could, but may not happen that we could possibly, theoretically, have something out.
Yes, you do
at some time this year.
You do realize that you just jinxed it, Jess, because Linden Lab will now time that new feature code drop just before we release it.
So that's what's coming. And with that, I'm out of agenda items. Good question. Ed?
Group ban is coming along. There's a few bugs still left to be ironed out. Baker is working on it, but it's getting close to being out in a release candidate viewer from Linden Lab. That's what Oz told us on Friday.
No, you can download. Do we not have a link?
What OS are you on? If you're having the voice issue on 461 on Windows, it's an easy fix. It's on the voice page. You can simply download a file and, a zipped folder actually, and unzip that in the program directory and let it replace any files that it wanted to.
You know, there is a very real possibility we may able to get through this in under 2 hours.
Jess,
Damn it.
yeah, 55. That's exactly what you do.
Yeah, it'll be included for all versions. Tahiti, are you still on 442 because you're Mac?
That's actually fixed now. General?
Is the viewer not 3D already?
You're
you mean
two versions
stereoscopic?
back. Yeah, you're 2 versions back, Tahiti.
Can I address... actually, I want to address something. Where's my soapbox? So, I often see and hear and have people come to me saying, I've got this problem. And I'll say, that's an interesting problem. And, I suck at support, so I'll generally ask support if they've not heard of it either. And so I'll tell this person, and this person will say to me, well, it happened on 4.6.1, so I just went back to 4.5.1. And maybe it'll be fixed in the next release. Let me tell you right now, it will not be fixed. And I'll tell you why. Because we're not psychic, and we can't read your mind. And if you come across a bug that is, especially in the case of a bug that, is kind of new or, it's not a common bug, if you don't file a JIRA on it, we don't know about it, and we are not going to fix it. So I appreciate that there are optimistic people out there. I love you for being optimistic. I'm glad that you are. But there's also a realistic bit that has to come with optimism, and just saying I'll let somebody else report it is not going to get it reported, because that someone else also says I'm going to let someone else report it. I'm going to let someone else report it, and it's not going to be fixed. And I love that you are. Maybe the next version it'll work, and maybe the next version it'll work, but it won't. We need you to help us. So we go to great lengths to fix bugs for you, and for us. It's not just you. I mean, we fix a bug, we use the viewer too, so it fixes it for us as well. For the bugs that we know about, bugs that we can't reproduce, that we don't know about, we can't know about unless you file it. And I know that filing a JIRA can be intimidating for people. It seems a lot harder than it actually is. It's really not that hard. And I can promise you, and a lot of people will think, because of, Linden Labs history, I'll file it, it'll never be looked at. I can promise you, as long as Whirly is alive, it will be looked at, and it will be filed and categorized and put in the right place appropriately, and she will bring it to our attention, no matter how insignificant it is. File it, really. It's not going to be fixed in the next version unless you file it. It's going to take you 5 minutes to file a JIRA. It's going to take us hours to fix the bug that you're filing. So the least you can do is file a JIRA.
And I'm going to push
I just
Jess off her
please
soapbox, and I'm going to step up on it for a minute. What Jess just said about our bugs, I'm going to take it a step further, folks. Linden Lab's got a ton of bugs out there. And we've had several people that have had, well, a significant number of people who have performance issues on 4.6.1. We've talked to Linden Lab about it. We found a workaround, a debug setting that you can change that's a workaround for it. We talked to Linden Lab about that, and it's going to cause problems. If enough people use it, the servers will die. The only way they can fix it is if they get logs, JIRAs with logs. So it's not just us, folks. It's Linden Lab that needs your help as well. If you don't tell them what the problem is and help them out to find where the problem is by submitting JIRAs with your logs and doing what they ask you to do, and the bugs aren't going to get fixed, folks. It's as simple as that. So I don't know about you, but I'm a big proponent of SL. I love it. It's great. I'd like to see it keep getting better. But if we don't help them, they can't fix them. Jira.
Gyra, depending on where you're from. Potato. Tomato. DJ asked about Oculus Rift. So Linden Lab, as you know, or probably know, Linden Lab is working on that. It's kind of a pretty big news item at the moment. They're working on it, so we're not working on it. And because there's no point in two parties doing the same work. And I can guarantee you Linden Lab will do a better job because the Rift costs money and we're not rich. Linden Lab can afford to buy them, to test with them and code with them. We cannot. So Linden Lab is going to develop Oculus Rift. And like everything Linden Lab does, eventually it falls into Firestorm. We will not have it before Linden Lab. And probably Linden Lab will have it released for a period of time. Couldn't tell you how much time, but for a period of time, Linden Lab will have it before us because it takes us time to merge that stuff in. But Oculus Rift is most definitely coming to Second Life. And although I have not seen it with my own eyes, I hear it can be very cool and very disorienting and even make some people uncomfortable.
Woof their cookies?
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool.
one thing I want to mention. Please do not use the Java for political ranting.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, there's that. Yeah, I mean, we want to know about your bug, not about your mood. That doesn't help us find the bug. But yeah, please help us. You know, we get so many people say, like, look at the dynamic user interface thing. Just read the blog comments. Really, if you've not done it and you feel like being entertained, read some of the blog comments. Some of them are really good and positive, and some of them are downright just, wow, people like this exist. There's a lot of people saying, you know, we need to fix the current bugs before we work on something else. Let me tell you something. The current bugs will never, ever all be fixed. There will always be bugs, and especially in a Second Life viewer. Some of them are NOS, some of them are. Some of them are server related. Like, there's always going to be bugs, and we can't fix them all. And anything new that is done is going to create more bugs. That's just the way it goes. That's software development. So, you know, yeah, dynamic user interface, you know, hopefully if it catches on, is going to have bugs. And we'll work to fix them, you know. No, Firestorm does not already support it. However, So somebody mentioned Control Alt Studio. So there is a viewer out there called Control Alt Studio. You can find it on the third-party viewer directory. I don't have a link handy. And he is working to implement Oculus Rift. Thank you. Oculus Rift, Leap Motion, all kinds of cutting-edge stuff. It is based off of Firestorm. I believe his latest release is based off of... Actually, I don't know. I thought it was 451, but I could be wrong. Somebody correct me.
I thought it was 461, but somebody
Did he release on 461? He did. So
yeah.
if you go grab it, you're basically on 461 with coolness stuff. But I hate to say it, but like if you're on Control Alt Studio, we're not on it. And you know, if you find issues with it, and they're not issues that happen in Firestorm, in our Firestorm, we can help you. It's important to note that Control Alt Studio is like a cutting edge kind of viewer. You guys remember Kirsten Viewer? Kirsten Viewer is kind of like a cutting edge viewer. It had the latest tech, whether it was stable or not. It had the latest tech. And Control Alt Studio is kind of the same thing. It's cutting edge, and we need to have, you know, developers like this in the community, because these are the guys that pave the way for the rest of us. You know, if Control Alt Studio wasn't doing it and getting this stuff out there, it would take longer for, you know, the third-party viewers like us, for example, who have to play a little bit on the safe side because of the way we can affect the grid. So we sort of have to play safe and not be cutting edge, right? So it's really cool that there's people like him that do this kind of thing. That would be cool. I don't know. I can't answer that.
Scroll up. Holter actually asked a question that you might be able to answer, or Tech could.
Where?
Holter.
What was the name?
Speaking of software
Holter.
dev, just curious if the dev team of Firestorm ever does code reviews, and are they seriously helpful?
Yes and no. On both parts of that question. We don't do formal code review. Quite often we'll discuss things internally. We'll just talk about it. And, you know, we'll come to a decision on a way to approach something. And then we test it. You know, one of our coders will work on it and test it. And see, one of the nice things about being a third-party viewer is we can be really agile, and we can make changes very quickly, which is something that a bigger company like, say, Linen Lab, for example, can't do so well, because they have to do all these code reviews, and they got to go through all these processes and steps and approvals from this department, approval from that department. We can sort of bypass that, and you know, we have to be careful when we bypass that. Obviously, there's consequences to doing it wrong. But if we can do it right, then we're able to get things out much quicker. So by, you know, going in our own loose kind of a way that we do, we can be more agile and react a little bit quicker. And then, you know, we get to merging in Linen code, which really slows us down. So, you know, where we benefit in one area, we kind of get set back in another. Yeah, SLGo is not something we'll do, I don't believe. That's not something we can do. It's not even by Linen Lab. I will say, Holter, that while we lack, perhaps in code review, we benefit in QA. We have a very strict QA process, which I personally think is much more effective than Linen Lab's QA. But it's also the reason it takes us longer to get releases out. Because they hold stuff back because they keep finding bugs.
Yeah, what was just was mentioning about our agile being more agile than Lynn Labs does have some consequences, and one of them was a bug that slipped through, that the avatar stats bug that accidentally took down their stats server. That's one of the consequences of not having a huge QA monster like Lynn Lab has.
I don't know. I call that they have a QA monster anymore, but yeah.
Last I've heard, they got quite a bit of QA. Well, wait a minute. With all the cutbacks, yeah, you might be right. Now,
I don't know.
There might
I
not
mean,
be much left in QA.
I'm looking at BreakPad, which is sitting in a project viewer, I believe, and it somehow passed QA. I don't know. Yeah, we have QA
Oh
monsters.
God, what did I just started?
I saw somebody ask something about voice. Jasmine, is there a voice issue with
We're
64-bit, not 32? Oh, okay. Oh,
It's the same files in both the 32 and 64-bit. But each individual install of Firestorm is treated as a separate instance of SL voice. And if your firewall blocks it, you get no voice.
Tahiti, can we move the save button and refresh button next to each other in Firestorm like Singularity?
It's DG.
Oh. That's a good question. I haven't used Singularity in a long time. Like a really long time, and I'm not sure what you mean. Yes, the CEO speech must see the CEO speech. Hang on. I mean, I guess the simple answer is yes. Sure, we could do that. It's interface, and we can, to a degree, move things around. The real question is, will we do that, or would we do that? I don't know that we would, but we'd have to. So this is a case where, you know, file a feature request or improvement to an existing feature. I'm not sure how that would fall in, and that's something that we can take a look at it and add pictures. Include pictures that we can see, you know, fully understand. It's important that we understand what it is that you're saying and what you're requesting. Oh, Inara, you did post it. Thank you. Have a read of that, folks. That's a good summary. I didn't see if you replied to my email. Include a picture, include a good description. We're not as strict and anal as Lynn Lab is in their JIRA descriptions and stuff, but, you know, enough that we can understand what you're trying to, you know, the message you're trying to get across, and we can look at it and talk about it and decide what we do. And please don't be upset if we close it as, you know, we won't do it. One of the nice things about there being alternative viewers out there in a situation like this is that there are alternative viewers out there, and they're different from each other, and that's what is really cool, you know. And so I wouldn't want to be exactly like Singularity, and I wouldn't want them to be like, you know, exactly like Firestorm. The nice thing about it is that you can go to one or the other. And there's always going to be, and we hear this a lot from other third-party viewers, from everyone from Singularity to Catsnip to Nuran to all of them, you know, where their users will complain to them saying, why can't you put in this feature like Firestorm? Why can't you have that feature or this option like Firestorm? And they come to me and they get really pissed off, and they're like, tell your users to stop, you know, requesting features in our viewer from Firestorm and blah, blah, blah. So I can assure you it goes both ways. There is a cancel button, but you have to have TP teleport progress bar enabled to see it, and it doesn't always work. It all depends on at what stage of the teleport you're in. Like, there's a handshake that takes place when you teleport from one region to another, and that handshake is a server thing. And depending on where it is, when you click cancel, will determine whether it works. And sometimes it'll actually just get you logged out of Second Life. There's nothing we can do about that. We can't improve it because it has to interrupt the communication between the server, the handshake.
Jasmine, as far as your request for the undo button, that would require server-side support from Linden Lab. We used to have restore to last position, but in the course of fixing a griefer bug, in the course of fixing a bug that allowed griefing, unless you have res rights at 000 on the region, restore to last position will not work.
Control Z does undo minor edits, not take to inventory, but
Yeah,
if you're editing something, if you're editing something and you move it up, or you turned it all crooked-eyed or whatever, and you if you do Control Z, it'll undo that. As long as you're still selecting it. If you unselect it, it'll no longer work. As soon as you unselect it, it'll clear the undo options. And if you're like building a house, for example, and it turns physical and falls apart, undo is not going to work. That happened recently. That.
I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute again. There's been a few things that have been brought up here in this Q&A where people have said, "Oh wow, I didn't know that. I've learned something." Here we go. You ready? We have classes, folks. We have classes pretty much every day. The class notes are available in the classes constantly in the classroom. Come out, grab the class notes, come out to the classes, participate. We try to make them fun and entertaining as well as informative. I think we usually succeed. Some days are better than others. But come on out to the classes, folks. It's not as painful as you might think. And you ready for the hook? We do an open Q&A after each and every one of our classes. So if you've ever got questions, come on out to the class, ask your questions.
Yeah, much like what we're doing right now, with kind of the Q&A, there's like mini Q&As after every class. Even more free.
Yep.
But wait, there's more. Order now.
They even come with plugs for future classes. They do.
DG asks multi-thread and multi-core support for CPUs. It sounds like a Tech Wolf question.
Okay, where's the question? Looking.
Just multi-thread or multi-core support for CPUs in Second Life.
Basically, the client already does it. It does do a few things multi-threaded, but the entire client is not multi-threaded, so that's why a few things tend to lock up the client. But quite a few other things are properly threaded, and it works, especially texture downloads. That's the one thing they really try to get threaded properly, so that way downloading your textures doesn't affect the client. But as far as everything else, I'm not sure about, but I do know a few other things are threaded. And Linden Labs is trying to thread a few things at a time, because once in a while I'll see a commit where they added a new thread. So they are trying to make the client more responsive to multi CPUs, and eventually that code filters down to us.
Oh, I forgot to mention WebKit is being updated as we speak. So on Median or Prim, and when you're on a YouTube page and you get that warning, anybody seen that?
Daniela, I'll argue with that. Depends on your rig. Right now, my CPU is my limit, and I'll shut up.
Sorry. So Nikki is updating WebKit, which fixes a bunch of bugs. And we found out yesterday when we told Lynn and Lab that we're updating WebKit. They said, "Oh, what a coincidence! So are we." And so they're working on it as well. And WebKit tech. Over
yes,
to you,
WebKit
tech.
I'm right here. Yes, WebKit is used for your internal browser. And also, let's see, what else? The internal browser, your media on-prem uses it, and your login page also uses it. That's where it's used. It is a separate process from the viewer, but the viewer just simply calls a plugin and tells the plugin to go fetch this page and display the page. And that's what we use to display that stuff internally.
Yeah.
That is. If you click on a link and you open an external browser, obviously that doesn't use WebKit.
So that's being updated, and it's long overdue to be updated, and it's generally been thought that, Linux Lab's going to have to do this, but Nikki, being Nikki, decided she was bored and she's going to do it, and she did it. She's updating it she's working on Mac, updating it for Mac as well, and she'll probably do it for Linux.
I believe it's about 2 years out of date.
Oh, it's way out of date, yeah. So it fixes a series of bugs as well. One of them was the YouTube videos with media on-prem showing that error. So that's fixed. And there was something else which really will remember and I won't.
Vicky, have you filed a Java on that bug?
Oh yeah, broken flash on Mac, that's right. So Mac is, you guys on Mac are getting some fixes with this updating, this coming release. And that alt cam bug that you guys have, that one in particular is annoying Linden's as well. And I got the impression yesterday that it's something on their list that they want to fix soon. Yeah, if you're alt camming, you know how you alt cam your camera around? It'll just send your camera, gone. It's horrible. It only affects Mac. And it's on account of, it's one of those big bugs that we're refusing to block 442 about. Anything with Linux? Linux, the 64-bit will probably not be beta. We'll put it out in a release official, but I don't know if there's any specific changes to Linux. Linux doesn't have too many bugs, and most Linux people will say that with great pride. There is the sound problem with Linux, I believe.
Yeah, I think there's a sound problem, but I haven't heard any reports about it lately, so I don't know if it's still a problem or not with my 64-bit build or not. I do know that.
Yeah, it's sound, I think. Oh yeah, FModX updated as well. So there's a bunch of stuff I forgot. And it really gives me this great big, perfectly formatted, overachieving list. And I didn't have a chance to sort through it. And it's just there's so much stuff. Anyway, it's a really worthwhile release that's coming.
Yeah, and I just want to make a quick comment here. I just noted Mana mentioning about Linux. I've been using Linux on Second Life for years, and the only time I crash is an actual crash bug, not due to instability. That's how stable it's been on my system, on my particular setup. So Linux is definitely the way to go if you want stability. Now, of course, I understand certain Windows systems, and I'll point my finger to Tank over here, are just as stable, too.
Tank left, I think he's gone.
Yeah. You can point at me and my XP machine if you want.
Folks, if you don't get the joke behind that one, we recently had a chat with Linden Labs, and they split out some of the hardware stats for crashes and discovered that they were 2 times higher on XP machines for the same client as was for 64-bit Windows.
Tech, I don't know how to break this to you, but I'm the exception to that rule. I've had my alt logged in on my XP machine, which is a low-end dual core with 1 gigabyte of RAM and a GS 8400 graphics card. I run my stream off it, as well as have TPW logged in all the time, and it's not unusual for me to have him logged in for over 200 hours at a time. So, I'll shut up again.
Can someone please crash him?
Oz said, in a polite way when Ed mentioned this at a user group at the third-party viewer meeting, was that thank you, Ed, for your input, but you are for the most part irrelevant. The experience Ed has is unique to Ed, is more or less what he meant.
Like one reason why Ed's system is so stable, because he's got nothing else running on it. Because I just realized a lot of people that are running their desktop, they usually have like virus scanners running in the background. They also have these comic cursors, as I call them, because that was an old time bug, and other things running, to all these helpful toolbars. And what else? The IM client, that may be Skype or Pigeon or whatever.
No. I want to run a web browser, Firestorm, and SAM Broadcaster on it, as well as having multiple Windows Explorer windows open, that's all.
So the question is, when are we going to stop supporting XP? I'm fully expecting somebody is going to ask that question. And the answer is when Linen Lab does.
Oh, and by the way, that is a 32-bit machine as well, Tech.
That might help. Oh, wait a minute. No, everything is 32. XP is 32.
Yeah, 32-bit, 1 gigabyte of RAM. Yeah, it's surprising that it keeps going.
Okay,
yeah,
what else do we have for questions? Questions. Throw out your questions. Yes, at the moment, Zen, yeah. So 374, our Linen merges are becoming a little bit less frequent because their releases are becoming a little bit less frequent, and also their releases are becoming more and more, what's the polite way to say it?
Significant? Buggy?
Yeah, they're not to our standard. And so there's going to be cases where, so here's a perfect example. How many of you know about the SL Share 2 feature from Linen Lab?
It is just asking.
Oh, somebody asking. Okay, so the Twitter button and Flickr thing and the filters and stuff. It's really cool. I mean, it's really cool. This is, I'm so impressed with Linen Lab lately because as much as people criticize them, and even I do sometimes, lately you have to admit they've been doing a really good job in regards to fixing. They gave you the mesh deformer. They've fixed avatar appearance. More or less, we don't see bake fails anymore. It hardly ever happens anymore. Do you guys remember how bad bake fails were? I mean, they fixed it, and it required a lot of work. HTTP work, which has improved network and speed and all kinds of stuff. Linen Lab's been on the ball, and they've been doing a really good job. And, I'm not trying to be like a fangirl or anything, but they've been doing good. And no, I mean, because I'll criticize them, when criticism is due. But for example, so using this SL Share as an example, here's a really cool feature. This stuff is really, really cool. And I was just this early as this morning saying, can we pull this into this release? We asked them live yesterday, and they said, yeah, we'll have it released by the time we have this release out. And so, I was really hoping we could have SL Share 2 in this upcoming release because it's just really shiny and cool. It turns out they've also mixed it in with a project called BreakPad, which is supposed to improve the accuracy of crash reporting, and it doesn't. And on top of that, it's absolutely horrible and has all kinds of nasty bugs and weirdness and we totally do not want that. And because they've mixed BreakPad, which is epic fail, in with SL Share 2, which is epic win, we can't really use SL Share 2 yet because it needs to be fixed. DG, it really is not great. Trust me. Big bugs. Even Linen Lab has told me, don't take BreakPad yet. It's really broken. So, the bane of our existence. This is, when Linen Lab does have cool features, and people will say, because Linen Lab will have released SL Share 2 with BreakPad, and people say, how come you don't have it? How come you don't have it? Well, Linen Lab has, in fairness, a small percentage of the user share in Second Life. For them to release with a bug, it's going to affect a small percentage of the users in Second Life. If we take that bug and release it, it affects a very large percentage of users on the grid, and so we have to have a really high standard. So we can't take SL Share until BreakPad gets fixed a little bit better.
And to answer his mono question, I'm encountering the same thing on my particular setup, but I've been troubleshooting it, but I haven't found a true cause yet. So you're not the only one's been affected by that particular bug. When you move the camera or the avatar around, your frame rate dropped to like 1. I'm affected with that particular bug, but I haven't been able to find the cause of it yet.
Daniela asks, is it true that Firestorm Viewer will be integrated into Microsoft Windows 9? Ask me that again around the end of March. Thanks for the idea. I don't have a plan for April 1st next year, so I'm open to ideas.
You become CEO of Linen Labs.
You know what? I would, even if I wanted to be, let's say hypothetically, I was crazy enough to actually want to be CEO of Linen Lab, with Ebbe in place where he is right now, and with the attitude and perspective and everything he has, I could not do better than him. I'm so impressed with this guy. That would go over really well, Toku. You could do support that day.
I don't know how to break this to you, DG, but the amount of time it takes away from development is next to 0.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, let me address that. DG, I'll address that right now. The April Fool's joke is 99.99999% coming out of my personal time. Me. Not TechWolf, not Nikki, not anybody else. It's me because I am a joker, and I've always liked April 1st, April Fool's Day, and it comes out of nobody's time. I spent about a week actually doing filming for the April Fool's joke, and a year planning it, and it took no time out of the development of the viewer.
I'm starting to get a little bit hungry here, and DG's starting to look pretty good to me right now.
DG, let me tell you something. I do not spend 100% of my time on Firestorm. I actually run a business in real life, my own business, which is, how I pay my bills. I have children. I have, all kinds of other things to do than to spend on Firestorm, but I spend a significant amount of time on Firestorm, as does everybody else. We're not paid. If you want to pay me, I'll take $80,000 a year before tax. I'll be fair. And I'll be happy to spend all my time on Firestorm.
Yeah, same offer goes out for me. If someone was really serious and just pay me enough money to substitute my real life job, yeah, I'll quit driving a truck and do development on Firestorm full time.
That's 40 hours a week, right, Josh?
40 hours a week. That's the standard, 40 hours a week. We have 80 people on the team. I think 13 roughly are developers. Developers make an average, I think, 80 grand generally a year. Some are more, obviously, some are less. I'm just basing an average. Support people. We're talking to fund. I would love to be able to pay the people on this team. I would love nothing more. I dream of the day I win the lottery. But we're talking a multi-million-dollar company to do what the Firestorm team does for free.
And quite frankly, I'd hate it if this was a paid job. I would absolutely hate it, and I'd be gone faster than you could say Jessica Lyon.
Yeah.
Because, sorry, the secret of our success is the fact that we all do it because we want to. Not because it's money, but because we want to.
Dark, no, I don't smoke and I don't toke. I used to, don't anymore. Years ago, quit. But my voice does get tired doing these things. Actually, e-cigs is how I quit smoking. But I don't smoke e-cigs either. I have no...
She has no vices?
I have no vice. Well, okay, chocolate milk. And
Cameras.
chips. Oh, and gear. I totally gear. Yeah, like camera gear. I'm a photographer in real life. And, yeah.
Holter, there'll be a recording link put up. And Anera
check the
does
blog.
a synopsis for us.
Check the blog Holter in a day or two on firestormviewer.org, and we'll have video, and we'll link to Anera's blog, which she does these fantastic jobs at transcribing. And Anera, what's your link again for the Ebbe Linden speech? Ramona, do you have it?
Garrett, just throw your question out there.
That's not true. I really like Media on a Prim. When I first heard about Linden Lab working on Media on a Prim, I thought it's about time, because you should have been able to do this long ago. The issue with it, though, is security. It's not that I have anything against Media on a Prim. I have issue with how it was implemented, and that it's not very secure. That's why we have Media Filter. That's really kind of what killed Media on a Prim. Now, as far as why have I suggested earlier in today's Q&A not to use Media on a Prim, I'm not suggesting you don't use it. I'm saying if you're afraid of being hacked from the Heartbleed vulnerability, then, like, if you're afraid of that happening, don't use Media on a Prim. Don't use the internal web browser, and it's, the odds are nil. The odds are nil anyways, but if it makes you feel more comfortable, then, don't use Media on a Prim.
I remember when Media Prim first came out, and I said, "Oh, this is great." Then anybody that works in security just sat down and thought for about 5 seconds. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
This auto loads a web page. Let me say that again. When Linden Lab first released Media on a Prim, the viewer automatically loaded a web page without user interaction.
So let me give you an example. Picture this. On the internet, there's all kinds of websites out there you do not want to visit. And there's most antivirus and firewalls will warn you when you try to visit those pages that this is an untrusted page, or that there's a risk, or there's this or that or the other thing. The thing about that is you have to actually click a link to go visit that site. In Second Life, with media on a prim enabled by default, I can put a website on a prim and put it in plain view of everybody, any website I want them to see, and they will not even maybe even notice that they're looking at. I can make the prim so small that they won't even see the prim, but that web page is still loading. You see? And if there's some kind of exploit or some kind of hack or something evil or bad on that website that I'm displaying, you're looking at it when you don't even know you're looking at it. And if there's 50 people in the region and they all have media on a prim running, that's 50 people are looking at the web page. They did nothing to click it. They have no idea they're looking at it. They have no idea it's loaded on their system. You can do all kinds of nasty stuff. That's why media on a prim is widely regarded as such a good feature that was botched.
Yes, and it was rapidly exploited real quickly after that by Red Zone as the #1 candidate for someone exploding that. Exploding that. Yeah, I can't speak today.
Exposing
anyway,
data. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that we don't like it. I love the idea. And it opened up a whole lot of possibilities in Second Life, but it just wasn't done securely. I'm not sure how it could have been done securely. Actually, I am sure, with the media filter. You go to a region and you get a notice that says, this page is trying to display, here's the URL, would you like to allow it? And then you can decide to go. That's how it should have been done.
Yeah, because media on a prim is very, very good for using in interactive classes and so on. Because that's one of the reasons it was marketed when the line came out with it, was because they wanted to go into these business style meetings, and the biggest problem was the presentator had to pre-upload a bunch of textures in order to present on a prim. Well, with media on a prim, now they can just upload the PDF file or the PowerPoint presentation, and then everybody can view the same web page at the same time, and they can do all kinds of interactive stuff. And that's one of the reasons it was first came out, was so they can have more interaction between the presenter and the listeners, like we're doing right here.
Yeah, of course, the other thing is, you don't have to res the prim. You can just wear it and go somewhere popular. Everybody there will see it. There's a good reason for media filter. I get a kick at a lot of people who think that we're not out there to protect you, and we've done huge steps to protect the users over the years. And sometimes I sort of resent it when I see people saying that you're accusing us of doing something that's to violate them, because we're totally the opposite of that. We're absolutely all about the user. And although, for example, blocking a version might affect a couple thousand people, it's advantageous to the rest of Second Life. The good of the good of the few for the many.
Also, when Media on Prim first came out, and we first put it out on I think it was on Firestorm Viewer. One of the things that was done right off the bat before we even released it was that we put the media filter in there and enable it by default. When we released that, it was soon after that, I forget the timeline, Linden Lab wanted our code to put in their viewer. And that's such a high demand, I think.
Yeah. Well, they saw it and they thought, maybe we should have had that too.
But
that's in there, thank you.
That we, as open source developers, actually do have Linden Labs. We just don't suck everything from Linden Labs all the time. We actually come up with a few things they want.
To be clear, though, Whirly Briggs, and it needs to be said, at the moment, and we've never been able to get media on a prim to work with the media filter. And while the media filter will warn you and request if you want to see it, it still lets it anyways. I can't remember what the reason for that was, but we were never able to get past it. And Linden Lab looked at it. They were going to try to fix it. That's right. It opens it before the warning, and I think it was a server end, or it was something that we weren't able to do. I can't remember. Last I heard, Cinder, you guys remember Cinder? She's back in Cell. She's not on the team per se. She's kind of like freelancing now with all the viewers. And she mentioned that she wanted to fix the media anaprim media filter. So it might happen.
And just to be clear, folks, if you really hate the media filter, make sure that you have play media attached to other avatars disabled.
Yeah.
And have your media disabled to start with. Also have allow in-world scripts to play media disabled. If you're not playing the media, you don't have to worry about it.
That's a great question. And as a photographer, that has crossed my mind many times. There's a lot of use of content in Second Life. DJs, and I'm not saying names, I'm sure most DJs legitimately have right to play the music that they play, but I also know that there are DJs who play music that they don't have legal right to play. It's such a gray area because it's in a virtual world. I have no idea. I mean, that's something a court would have to decide, and it's never come to that. So,
if you're making money off it, you need to have the rights. If you're doing it for your own
legally,
personal enjoyment,
well,
that's
but
another
even that
story.
doesn't cover everything because there's different levels of Creative Commons that people can choose as a content creator or a copyright holder, and you can choose to have it, for attribution. In which case, even then, the TVs, for example, they're not attributing who made this content. So there's a lot of violation in Second Life in that regard, and the TV is only providing a link. The TV, as far as I know, aren't like hosting the streams. They're just tying into the streams that already exist online. So I might think that it would be fall under the responsibility of the websites that are streaming it, perhaps.
Streaming. Yeah, it would, Jess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Same as with DJs in Second Life. If you're going out and running streams at clubs and taking tips and stuff, things like that, you need to pay royalties on the music that you play. If, on the other hand, you do like I do and play for your own personal pleasure, and I do not make any money from my stream, I'm perfectly safe. They could take me to court, but I'd win.
Here in the United States, there's like 3 different licenses that you can purchase to give you broad coverage rights on rebroadcasting of music. But be forewarned, that only covers the normal use application. When it comes to internet streaming, it costs about 10 times more. They're trying to the RIAA and other organizations are trying to kill internet streaming music.
Thank you, Mona. Yeah, Mona's posted a link there that has some good information about that. And just to be clear, the April Fool's video had some song tracks in it and sound effects. I paid for all of them. We paid for rights for all of that. About $120. I don't mess around with copyright.
There's a lot of third-party sites in which you can go to and purchase just generic stuff that is already licensed for reuse. So, yeah. That's how come you can make stuff like that. Pretty simple. When Linden Labs first came out with Mesh, you had to fill out a questionnaire. And so, you understand it, when Mesh first came out. And that's the reason why they had that questionnaire and so on, to make sure that you understand that you just can't go to your favorite video game, rip the mesh objects out and upload it to Linden Labs. You're just not allowed to do that.
People do, still. Actually, a few years back, there was a situation where Linden Labs started trying to buckle down on those types of things. Nike shoes, Coca-Cola was involved. There's a bunch of companies that were trying to sue Linden Lab.
Coca-Cola wasn't. Coca-Cola gave
the
rights. No, Coke was the one. The first Coca-Cola was the first company to give carte blanche for their Coke to be used in Second Life.
Good for them. Although it only makes sense. I mean, from
Free
an
advertising.
advertising marketing's point of view, it only makes sense, especially if you're... But their concern, some companies' concern with that is that their product might be displayed in a
Negative manner.
in a bad light,
Yeah, then some of those companies are really paranoid about that one. This is why you will never see a race car game, like something from EA Sports where they use like Ford products or Chrysler products or any of that. You will never see a dent in them. They will never crash realistically. You will never see dents in them because they're that anal about that. Now, NASCAR is the exception to that.
Well, NASCAR is all about crashing, isn't it? I'm Canadian, so NASCAR isn't like as big a deal to me. But I know for some Americans, it's like everything. It's the world.
One of my housemates loves NASCAR. Hates Formula One. There's not enough crashing in it. But NASCAR, she loves it.
Formula One is nuts. I watched a video a while back of like the onboard cameras they have. It's just crazy. Anyway, totally off topic. Oh yeah, Inara is a big fan of NASCAR. Oops. Or Formula One, sorry. Formula One. Yeah, anyway, good things about Formula One. That's crazy. That stuff's mental.
I have to give kudos for Formula One for their new rules. They really have decided to make some major changes to their cars to make them safer. If you read the new rules that recently came about, I think either for, I'm not sure it was this year or for previous year, they made some huge changes. They almost dropped the engine size in half and so on.
Ebbe, about content theft. First of all, I didn't mention this, and I actually meant to, and you'll see it when you watch his video. Please watch the video. He hasn't had to be hounded by users about the terms of service change that Linden Lab did a few months back that basically said, under no uncertain terms, any content you upload we can use. He's actually been working with the lawyers saying, you need to change this, because this is not right. I kid you not. Couldn't make it up. This guy gets it. He's changing the terms of service to not say that, because it's wrong.
Technically, for the United States, someone could argue in the court that was illegal to begin with. Because you still...
I don't think it would have... Yeah, I don't think it would have stood up in a court of law. But, that's... It never went to a court of law to say, so that's just my opinion. But thank you, Inara. Another great post. Inara's on the ball, I'm telling you. She's got a good blog there about Philip Linden's keynote speech as well. And Inara, that's why I sent you an email, because I knew this was coming, and I wanted to know if you were going to have a thing from Ebbe that I could link to. But yeah, Ebbe is. I'm really, really, really hopeful. I have like a fully renewed hope for Second Life and the future of Second Life after seeing Ebbe, and just the way he interacted with the community.
Yeah, the best part is that he was real, and he didn't try to bullshit anybody. He was upfront. If he didn't know, he said he didn't know. If he thought it was a good idea, but he'd have to check around, he said that.
He did what we do here. He let himself be put on the spot.
He sounded like a user.
Yeah, I was so impressed. I mean, you guys don't realize, the last couple Linden CEOs, they're the public face, right? And we know that. But more or less they come in, and then they have the legal department say, oh, no, we don't talk to the public like that. It's scripted, and you got to let us review what you're going to say, and da-da-da-da-da. And under M. Linden and under Rodvik, that's the way it went. Ebbe's come in, and the only explanation I can think of is that Ebbe said, okay, thank you for, your suggestions, and I'll take that into account, but I can stand on my own 2 feet. Oh, and the board's influence, thank you, especially the board's influence. And he's doing a fantastic job at leading by example and taking the bull by the horns quite literally, and being, involved in Second Life. It reminds me of Philip back in the day. Well, there's Lindens in World again. Ebbe's encouraging Lindens to come in World and socialize with residents on their Linden accounts. Of course, they have guidelines, right? There's things that they're allowed to say, and there's things they're not allowed to say, and that's understandable, and you have to accept that. That just makes sense for a company. But the fact that it's being allowed is, yeah, exactly. Ebbe gets that, though. Ebbe seems to get that, though. And not only that, Ebbe said, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said that he basically acknowledges that Linden Lab can't exist without the users, and the users can't exist without Linden Lab, and they got to work together. I've had arguments in the past under Rodvik. The whole motto Linden Lab has, your world, your imagination, and, Linden Lab would be going in a direction, I'll say, so much for this, and have the Linden turn around and say, it is our world, it's not yours. And, Linden Lab totally gone the wrong direction altogether, and that's why, a year ago, I had was really concerned about the future of Second Life.
Because everything I was seeing, and I'm sure Jess was seeing a lot more than that, everything was was being written on the wall that things were getting set up at Linden Lab for a sale. That's
right. Yeah.
If I could see it with my limited time online and so on, yeah, things were getting pretty bad there. But judging from everything I'm hearing about this Ebbe here, I think he understands that not to, unlike a lot of CEOs, is to not to let me try this again. Neglect. There we go. Their core product. Their core product is us.
But also, I hope that. So I'm quite convinced that Ebbe's he gets it. So now it's just a question of whether he can turn that into profit. So it's one thing to understand the product. It's one thing to understand the customer, and Ebbe seems to be there. And at the very least, he's absolutely trying to be there, it's another thing to actually make that profitable. But just having a CEO with these viewpoints, and really understanding the product the way he does, and taking the time to understand it, really gives me hope.
Okay, so
the
I'm going
unique
to get it back
situation
on
about this particular virtual world is that you mentioned about making this make a profit. That's easy. Just do stuff to make it more attractive for people to come in. Because all these content creators that are making a profit off of Linden Labs will rent Sims and everything else. Because that's where Linden Labs makes most of their money, is renting of Sims. You make this virtual world more popular, more Sims get rid of. There's your profit.
and I'm going to jump back on this soapbox for just a minute.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Because Ebbe has given us great hope. Not just Jessica, but myself as well. Jess and I were sort of in the same boat on it. But Linden Lab can't fix things without our help, folks. Sorry, we are Second Life. Linden Lab is the platform. We are Second Life, the users. So, if you want to help out, help out. If you don't want to help out, don't complain.
And to address Garrett's statement, wouldn't his being here help the product a lot? His turning around like this and turning the company around, the attitude around of the company is absolutely going to restore morale among its existing customers. It certainly has for me. And I think when you watch the video, you'll be really happy and proud to be a Second Life user as well. And staff, absolutely. Thank you, Inara. And that will probably and most definitely result in plugging the leak of users leaving Second Life. But it's not necessarily going to do much for pulling in new users and keeping new users in Second Life. So, it addresses one aspect of it. It keeps us happy. It keeps us spending money, maybe buying regions, or continuing our tier, maybe changing our mind. We were thinking about leaving, and maybe I'll stay a little bit longer, that way. And so it might stabilize things, but turning it into, straight profit or more profit, that's going to take more work. But it's definitely a big step in a direction we've been going the opposite way for the last couple of years.
I have a question. I think this is more directed to just about Evie, but I'm looking at the local chat and Inra. It sounds like she may have something, but my question is...
Anara knows lots of things.
Okay. From what I can tell, is Danusia, which is Ebbe, right? Yeah. That's how far I've been out of the loop. Is Ebbe got some backing from the staff, like a ward or something like that? I just want to clarify that.
From the Lindens I spoke to, they all love him.
Yeah. From the Lindens, I haven't heard anything from the board, but from the Lindens that we deal with in Second Life, they're very happy with him.
And just for clarification, because I hadn't read up on his background or anything, where did he come from? Was he already a board member before he became CEO?
Oh, watch the video, Tech. Phelan does a very in-depth introduction to Ebbe and his things that he's done. Yeah, really watch the video. You guys got to watch the video, and I think we're done with the relevant Q&A stuff for the viewers. So I'm going to call it end to the meeting so that Anara's or Pantera's hard drive doesn't fill out with video. And just for the record, for the record of the video,
want the video.
I'd like to thank you all for coming. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't do these Q&As, obviously. And we had a full house almost the whole time. We still got 45 people in here. It's crazy. We'll have another Q&A next month, second Saturday of every month. That's when we do them. The next one will be at 9?
8 a.m. SL time.
8 a.m. 8 a.m. SL time.
Well, normally.
Yeah. And so we're calling a close to this, but for those of you in the audience, please stick around because we will continue to be here and answer questions and talk and chat and mingle and all that fun stuff.
I'm currently shut down for the night, so I can stay here. I don't have to take off.
Yeah, so Anara's throwing check. Anara's throwing a couple links out in local for you there.
Okay.
Good reading.
Information about Ebbe.
As soon as I click those links, I'll probably lose my voice temporarily.
Oh, well.
This is the bandwidth.
Yep.
You can't copy paste them somewhere so you can find them later. Just go to Anara's blog and have a read of her blog. If those of you who don't know, if you want to stay up to date with what's going on in Second Life, read Anara's blog. I'm not trying to show favoritism or anything like that, but she's probably the most informed blogger there is.
So, Tech, whose eyes are those in your mouth that you ate? They're poking out there.
Unfortunately, I got my draw distance set to 1, so I can't see any avatars.
Thanks for coming, Daniela.